Disclaimer: this content is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. The first time I met her, I never expected trouble. She was supposed to be just my best friend's girlfriend, off limits, untouchable. But the way she looked at me that night, it said otherwise. Her name was Skylar. Confident. Sharp. The kind of woman who always had a way of owning the room without even trying. And from the second we were introduced, something sparked between us, something neither of us dared to speak out loud. I told myself it was nothing, that I was overthinking. But deep down, I knew this wasn't going to stay quiet for long. I'm 24, born and raised in the heart of Chicago. My best friend, Jordan, is like a brother to me. We've been through everything together: college, heartbreaks, job losses. So when he introduced Skylar at a late-night house party, I shook her hand with a smile and a respectful distance. I remember thinking, she's stunning, but she's his. I meant it, too, at least at the time. But life has a twisted sense of humor, and feelings don't come with an off switch. It started small. Glances that lasted too long. Conversations that drifted into late-night texts. Then one day, when Jordan was out grabbing pizza, Skylar sat a little too close on the couch. Her knee touched mine. She leaned in, eyes steady, voice soft. You ever wonder what it would be like if we met first? My breath caught. It was the first time either of us acknowledged the tension, but it wouldn't be the last. Skylar's presence was magnetic. She always found reasons to be around me when Jordan wasn't. At first, I resisted. I pushed away every thought that crossed the line. But temptation has a way of making itself comfortable, especially when it's dressed in charm and curiosity. There were no clear lines anymore. Just shadows, what ifs, and moments that hung too heavy between us. I was caught in a mess I didn't ask for, but maybe part of me didn't want out. And Jordan. He was clueless. Always talking about how serious he was about her. Planning trips. Mentioning moving in. Every time he spoke like that, the guilt hit harder. But so did the pull. I wasn't proud of it. I didn't want to hurt anyone. But Skylar wasn't letting go, and I was losing the strength to walk away. I started questioning everything: my loyalty, my feelings, even my identity. Was this real, or just something born out of secrecy and stolen glances? And if it was real, what was I supposed to do? Walk away and live with the ache? Or step into the fire and deal? She stood there dripping wet, her hoodie clinging to her shoulders, hair plastered to her cheekbones. I didn't even ask why she was here. I just stepped aside and let her in. Her eyes, those dark, unreadable eyes, searched mine as if waiting for a reason not to walk through that door. But she did. And as soon as it clicked shut behind her, the air between us turned heavy again, thick with everything we weren't supposed to say. She didn't speak for a while. Just paced. The sound of the rain filled the silence, tapping against the window like a warning. I offered her a towel. She took it without saying thanks. Then finally, she looked at me, really looked, and said, I couldn't stay there tonight. I didn't ask questions. I didn't need to. I knew whatever happened between her and Jordan wasn't good. But knowing that didn't make this feel any less wrong. Skylar and Jordan had been together for 8 months. Not that long, but long enough for him to fall hard. He talked about her like she was the one. Told me she was different, smarter, deeper. And she was all that. But she was also something else entirely when she was around me, softer, rawer, Like she was showing a version of herself she didn't show him. And I hated how much I noticed that. I remember the first time we were alone. It was 3 months ago. Jordan had stepped out to take a call, and Skylar and I sat outside on the porch, sipping wine under fairy lights. She asked about my last relationship. I told her I hadn't dated anyone in a while. She asked if it was by choice or just bad timing. I didn't know how to answer. She smiled and said, "Sometimes the timing's just messed up, huh?" That's when it began. Not the physical stuff, just the slow, dangerous drift of closeness. Now here she was, sitting on my couch in silence. She wasn't crying, but her hands trembled a little. She tucked her legs under herself and leaned back like she belonged here. And maybe, in some twisted way, she did. I sat across from her, unsure of every word I didn't say. The storm outside wasn't nearly as loud as what was happening between us. And I knew, this night would take us one step further into something we might not come back from. She sat there, silent but present, like she wanted to say something and didn't know how. The towel around her shoulders was slipping, her fingers tugging at the ends like they were the only thing holding her together. I couldn't take my eyes off her, not because of how she looked, but because of everything she wasn't saying. The room was warm, but my chest felt cold. Every second felt like I was standing on the edge of something I couldn't undo. "I didn't plan on coming here," Skylar said suddenly, her voice low, like she was confessing to herself more than me. "I just didn't know where else to go." I nodded, but inside, I was spiraling. This wasn't just about her showing up. It was everything leading up to this. The late-night talks. The lingering stares. The way my name sounded different when she said it. I had ignored it all, shoved it under layers of guilt and loyalty. But now, she was here. And that meant something. Jordan had called me earlier that day, actually. Said he and Skylar had been arguing more than usual. Something about how distant she'd been lately. I gave the usual best friend answers: relationships hit rough spots, she probably just needs space, talk it out. But I hadn't expected that space to lead her here. She finally looked up at me, her eyes red, but not from crying. "Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life? Like you're following a script, but it doesn't feel like yours anymore?" I didn't answer right away. Because, yeah, I knew exactly what that felt like. And maybe that's why this whole thing with her wasn't as random as I pretended it was. Maybe we were both just tired of pretending. She leaned back, arms crossed over her chest like she was trying to protect herself from the words she hadn't said yet. I thought being with Jordan would fix something in me. But I feel more confused than ever. And the messed up part is, when I'm around you, it's the only time I feel real. That hit me harder than I expected. I stood up and walked to the kitchen, not because I needed water but because I needed distance. I leaned on the counter, back turned, heart pounding. This wasn't some movie where things just worked themselves out. Jordan was still my best friend. He trusted me. And Skylar. She was unraveling something in me I hadn't even realized was there. There was a knock on the door then, soft, hesitant. We both froze. I turned slowly, and the look on her face said she wasn't expecting anyone either. I walked over and opened it, pulse racing. It wasn't Jordan. It was someone I hadn't seen in almost 2 years, my ex, Riley. She looked just as surprised to see me as I was to see her. "Hey. I was in town. Thought I'd stop by." Skylar stood up slowly behind me. Her expression unreadable now. And just like that, the tension cracked wide open, pulling in a whole new layer neither of us was ready for. Riley's voice pulled the ground out from under me. I hadn't seen her since we broke up, and not once had I expected her to show up here, tonight of all nights. My mouth opened, but no words came out. Skylar stood still behind me, arms crossed now, eyes locked on Riley like she was trying to figure out how much of this was coincidence and how much wasn't. I didn't know you had company, Riley said, looking past me briefly. Her voice was casual, but her eyes weren't. They scanned the room too quickly, caught the towel over the couch, the second pair of shoes by the door. She knew. Or at least, she was starting to. I didn't know you were in town, I finally managed. I wasn't. Not really. I was driving through, figured I'd say hi. Her smile was small and sad, like she already regretted coming. Didn't think it'd feel this weird. Skylar stepped forward. Maybe I should go. No, I said, sharper than I meant to. She paused. Riley raised an eyebrow. The room felt like it was holding its breath. I invited Riley in because I didn't know what else to do. She walked in slowly, her eyes flicking between me and Skylar, reading the tension in the room like an open book. She was always good at that, seeing things others missed. And now she was seeing everything. For a few minutes, the three of us sat in awkward silence. Skylar barely spoke. Riley asked surface-level questions. How work was, if I still had the bike, if I was dating someone. I answered with half-truths, avoiding eye contact with both of them. But the silence between Skylar and me said more than words ever could. Then Riley leaned forward. So, are you two? She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Skylar looked at me. I looked at her. Neither of us said yes. But we didn't say no either. And that hesitation, that tiny moment, was enough. Just then, my phone buzzed. Jordan. Again. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The air in the room was tighter than ever. 3 people, 1 secret, and a call waiting to blow everything apart. The storm outside had slowed, but the one inside was only just beginning. My fingers hovered over my phone, Jordan's name still glowing on the screen. The buzzing stopped, but the silence that followed felt louder than any ringtone. I didn't dare look at either of them. Skylar stood stiff beside the couch, her arms still wrapped around herself, and Riley hadn't taken her eyes off me since she walked in. Every second felt like a countdown to something I couldn't control. I should really go, Skylar said again, quieter this time. Riley stood up slowly, folding her arms. You live nearby? Skylar paused. No. I was staying with someone. The way she said it made Riley's eyebrows lift just slightly. I knew that tone too well. Skylar wasn't great at lying, and Riley was even better at noticing. Then the phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't a call. It was a message. From Jordan. Hey. Just saw Sky's location. Is she with you? I felt like the floor tilted under me. I didn't realize he still had her location turned on. I stared at the screen, panic creeping up my spine. I could lie. I could say she dropped by for a minute. Or say nothing. But either way, the truth was circling us fast. I locked the screen and slid the phone into my pocket, trying to breathe. Riley narrowed her eyes. Oh, what exactly is going on here? Before I could answer, Skylar stepped forward. It's complicated. That's not an answer, Riley said. No, I cut in, voice tight. But it's the only one we have right now. That's when the second twist landed. Skylar's phone buzzed too. She looked down, then back up at me. He's outside. My heart dropped. I walked to the window and peeked through the blinds. Sure enough, Jordan's car was parked across the street. My best friend. The one person who had trusted me without question. And he was seconds away from walking into a truth that could end everything. I have to go out there, I said, already moving toward the door. Skylar stopped me with a hand on my arm. Don't. Let me talk to him. Riley stepped in between us both. No. This is your mess, but you're not dragging each other into a public disaster. The tension cracked in 3 directions. Me, caught between my past and present. Skylar, caught between 2 hearts. And Riley, standing in front of us like a mirror of everything I'd walked away from. Outside, Jordan's door opened. He was already halfway up the path. I turned to both women. Whatever happens next, we can't lie anymore. The knock on the door was louder than it needed to be. ChatGPT said. The knock echoed again, harder this time. Jordan's voice followed. You home? My chest tightened. Skylar's hand dropped from my arm. Riley stepped back, her eyes locked on mine, as if daring me to choose who I really was in that moment. I reached for the doorknob with a hand that wouldn't stop shaking and pulled it open. Jordan stood there, drenched in the light rain, holding his phone in one hand, confusion written across his face. He looked past me instantly. His eyes landed on Skylar. Then Riley. Then back to me. What the hell is going on? Skylar opened her mouth, but I stepped in front of her. Jordan, let's talk outside. He didn't move. His voice cracked a little. No, you talk to me now. Skylar took a shaky breath. Jordan, I came here because I didn't know where else to go. We've been falling apart, and I didn't know how to say it. His jaw clenched. So you ran to her. Riley, still standing near the couch, spoke for the first time. It's not what you think. Jordan laughed, bitter, hurt. You don't even know what I think. I stepped forward. You're right. You don't. But I should have told you the truth. Things got blurry. I didn't mean for it to happen this way, but it did. And I'm sorry. He looked at me, eyes wide and raw. You were supposed to be my best friend. I still am. But I can't lie anymore, not to you, not to myself. The air felt heavy with the weight of everything unsaid. Jordan turned to leave, but then paused at the door. You know what's messed up? I knew something was wrong. I just didn't think it'd be you. Skylar stepped forward. It was never meant to hurt you. But maybe we all lied to ourselves. He didn't respond. He walked out into the night, the door closing softly behind him. Silence hung for a long time. Then Riley cleared her throat. Well, I guess I picked a hell of a night to visit. I gave her a tired smile. You always did have perfect timing. She smiled back, but there was something in her eyes. Something unsettled. Then, as I turned to check on Skylar, Riley spoke again, calm, quiet, and unexpected. I wasn't just passing through, I came back because I wanted to tell you. I never stopped loving you. Everything inside me froze. Skylar's face fell. And just like that, the truth we thought we'd faced unraveled all over again. Skylar didn't say anything right away. Her eyes were still on Riley, searching for something, clarity, reassurance, maybe a reason to stay. I stood between the two of them, torn in a way I never imagined I'd feel. The room, once filled with noise and tension, was now thick with silence. But this silence wasn't confusion anymore. It was truth. Finally, all of it was out. "I didn't come here to ruin anything," Riley said gently, stepping forward. "But I had to say it. I thought maybe I still had a chance." Skylar looked down, then slowly turned toward me. "Do you still have feelings for her?" That question held everything, her fear, her hope, her exhaustion. I exhaled, not to buy time, but because the weight of every secret we'd kept was finally falling away. "I don't know," I said honestly. "What I feel for you is real. And what I had with Riley, it mattered. But I can't pretend I know what comes next." Riley gave a soft nod. "That's fair. But I had to try." It wasn't dramatic. No screaming. No ultimatums. Just people finally telling the truth. Later that night, after Riley left, Skylar and I sat on the couch without touching, just talking. She told me she'd be moving out of Jordan's place the next morning. Not to move in with me, just to find space. To figure out who she was without all the noise. I respected that. Maybe we needed time too. Maybe real love didn't come in perfect timing, it came in messes and hard decisions. I texted Jordan, too. Told him I didn't expect him to forgive me, but that I'd always be grateful for what we had. I don't know if he'll ever answer. Skylar left before sunrise. She kissed me on the cheek before walking out the door. No promises. No guarantees. Just a goodbye that didn't feel like the end, only a pause. And maybe that's the point. Sometimes, love doesn't give us closure. It gives us change. And the only thing we can do is be honest, with ourselves and with the people who matter. To anyone watching this, ask yourself, what would you have done? Would you have told the truth?